Hi there, welcome. I'm Bob Thompson, and I'd like to welcome you to the world of college cost challenges. We have this program, and we've been doing this for quite some time, but the world of college cost challenges is kind of a new title the last 8 or 10 months. And what we've done there is take college cost challenges and talked about the world of college cost challenges because of a book that's coming out. And what we thought we'd do is share on these programs a chapter or several chapters together in the program to talk about the many challenges that parents have relating to college costs. So we have kind of sharing with you these chapters in the galley proof, and hopefully we'll get this darn book out here pretty soon in the next quarter or so. But welcome, and if you have some questions, get back to us at the studio here at Simsbury Community TV. Today's program, and there's no props, there's no goofy things that I usually do other than this goofy show, but what I'd like to do is share with you, well, the last program, let me talk about that first. We talked about identifying patterns. And if you haven't seen that, it's on the archive on the website of Simsbury TV under series of the world of college cost challenges. And I had an easel here, and we talked about identifying patterns. And our book is about 80% contributions from parents who have experienced the college cost challenges. Some of those parents are what we call veterans, and they've already got, they may not be empty nesters yet, but they've got the college experience of their child or children behind them. And they have been willing and very nice to share with us their experiences, good, bad, and indifferent, and so on. But identifying patterns, and let me just talk about last program, where we talked about identifying 3 groups of parents. And this hasn't changed in the last 25 or 30 years that we've been doing this, where we talk about those parents that have no plan at all. By default, their plan is to have no plan. And it's not that they remain there, but that group is pretty static, of about 22% of all the parents that we have dealt with. And parents that are dealing with others, and we see articles that are written, but no plan at all. The group in the middle is the largest group, what we call informal planners, and that represents about 72%, 72 to 74%. Also, that hasn't changed. And then this last group are people that have kind of formalized in some way or another, formalized their planning. We call it Form Ed planning, and that represents only 4% of this big pool of parents. Early stage parents, middle of the road parents, and those in the panic and crisis, I call them the P and C, not property and casualty, but panic and crisis. Oh my goodness, our child is a junior in high school, getting all those reports from the guidance counselors and so on. And we've got to start looking at colleges and the cost and so on. So identifying patterns, what do they have in common? And we like to say that this entire group is the same. That's misleading a little bit, and I got some feedback from our program that said everybody's the same. Well, what we're talking about is they're the same with respect to emotion. They're the same with respect to logic, their intuitiveness, their do-it-yourself. So yes, of course, that group is broken up into different parts. But the point we're trying to make there is if they are all in this income strata, they still fall within the no plan, informal plan, and formalized plan. If they are a group of one child, they're all the same because everybody has one child. So income, the number of children, everything is the same as far as that group is concerned, okay? Kind of hard to illustrate, but in our book we've got about a chapter and a half, 2 chapters talking about these 3 groups and the result of having no plan, an informal plan, and a formalized plan. So what I'd like to do in our program today is why smart parents do dumb things. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that, but yeah, as a matter of fact, we've had a number of clients over the years say, Bob, why don't you put out a book of college costs for dummies? And we kind of laugh at that, we joke about that, but the series of For Dummies books are really geared to say, hey, we're all in this boat together, and if we're looking at future college costs, here's what you should know. Well, we think the World of College Cost Challenges effort is in that direction. Subtitle to Why Smart Parents Do Dumb Things. Subtitle is, Perhaps We're Just Wired That Way. And I hesitate and I try not to, in our previous program that we just taped, the Philanthropic Planner, or in the World of College Cost Challenges, I try not to talk about the financial business, which my company is involved in, financial planning and so on. I try to separate that, but you can't. We're talking about money, we're talking about people, and we're talking about people's emotions and the fact that emotions and money don't mix. So when we come back to why do smart people do dumb things, perhaps it's just we're wired that way, okay? We are intellectually on this par. We can handle most problems. Cognitively, the experience that we have personally and the experiences that we glean from others, we gather that information and apply that to problems or situations. When we talk about challenges such as college costs, we have to factor in that, I can do this because I have this magical screen over here that can give me more information than I ever want to know. I can Google and say, give me future college costs, and they give me 20 different calculators. There is so much information available out there that the do-it-yourselfers, and there are many, because we reach a degree of intelligence and our skill set at work, and because I'm a genius at work, I'm a genius at home, unless your spouse says you're not a genius at home. But what we're trying to do there is share with parents sharing with parents that we're all in the same boat together. So we take these challenges, and believe me, that Googling and this fire hose of information that we get is one of the challenges, because how does it relate to me? I can find out through the news that we have 1.5, almost $1.6 trillion of student loan debt. 8-9 years ago, it was half of that, 700 or 800 million. Today, double that. So we look at this and say, here's the issue, here's the problem. Once we've identified the problem, we're led to believe that we're halfway to the solution. The problem is, and I'm outspoken, I've been very critical about my own industry and related industries, that we have not done a good job in the past 10, 15 years, my opinion, my personal opinion, or we wouldn't have $1.5, $1.6 trillion of student debt. We're not talking about parent college-related debt. That's in addition to, but mutual fund companies, insurance companies, exchange-traded funds, we talk about banks, and we talk about financial planners, accountants, attorneys, people in the related industries and so on. Have we done a good job? Okay, it's just my opinion. I don't think we have. And part of the reason is all of these groups, these industries or whatever, rely on two-dimension solution. Save early, save a lot. Now we have, over the last 20 some years, these grand things of 529 plans. It took us 19 years to get to the college funding, one of the funding solutions of 529 plans. But how much goes into 529s and how much should or could or whatever get to that great vehicle? Because if I put $1,000 in there and let it grow, I can take it out for qualified college costs and expenses without paying tax on the growth. So it's a great savings vehicle. But the problem is, part of society, they claim that they're not aware of the 529 plans, which blows my mind. I find that hard to believe. Another part says, yes, we're putting a little bit in there. And I come back to this group of 72 to 74% of all parents of children, not of children that won't go to college, but will go to college, 72 to 74%. That's informal planning and informal funding, and in this case, 529s. I make the rash, people don't like it, but I say two planners and two parents. Product is not the answer. Product is not the answer. We have, for hundreds of students and parents and their children, students, used dozens of different plans. We've done more than you ever wanted to know. Who ever heard of Crown loans? How about buying an apartment off campus? How about a farm or a ranch where selling calves, cattle, and bulls will pay for my child or children's education? Savings bonds, life insurance. I mean, product is not the answer, primarily because it lacks. It goes beyond the bounds of saving early and save a lot. And now I'm pressured, not pressured is not the right word, but I'm influenced that this product is better than your product. That if you put your money in here, it will satisfy all of that. Product is not the answer because we're wired, and therefore people selling us, the selling industries, okay, everybody sells, but it's easier to sell if I know the potential buyer's emotions. It's easier to sell emotion. Now, if my 529 or my CD at my bank or this mutual fund or this is better, product driven, I can sell you if I know your value system, your goal, your emotions. When we talk about emotions, we talk about our brain, this incredible thing that we have up here, and we talk about parts of our brain and how thalamus feeds an amygdala, and how by micromilliseconds, I go from this temple, part of the temple inside my brain, almost immediately to another functioning part of our brain that says fear, greed, anxiety, our emotional aspects of life. And based on that, I'm going to make decisions. Now, meaningful decisions, if it's limited by these different sources of information, I have a built-in selective bias. And that built-in selective bias based on the easier sales job, and I get that sales job part of it by Googling and getting into a calculator, and calculators haven't changed since the GI Bill. It is, what's the cost of future education, or what's the current cost of education? How much have you saved so far? How much are you willing to save in the future? And what's the increase of your funds or investments? So you put in an assumed figure there. You really make the result based on the input into the calculator and push the button, and it comes out and says, you have to save $3,600 a month for your 2 children. Now, if you want to see the expression on anybody's face when they push that button and say, we can't afford month to month, paycheck to paycheck, to pay more than daycare or diapers or going to soccer camp or piano instruction or whatever, we're just staying above the water, and you want us to save $3,600. That's why I say it's a challenge. It's a good thing to have the calculator, but if it puts us into a negative thought process, that is built-in fear. Now I can fight or flight because of this temporal function. And what we do is we get fear and we flee. And we say, okay, we'll get to this in another year or 2 or 3. Someday we will go from no plan to informal plan to a formalized plan. Someday. I get this input that we're going to qualify for financial aid. Financial aid is the problem, part of the problem that we have that's generated $1.5 trillion of student loan debt. But it's an easy sale to say to someone, surely you're going to qualify for financial aid. If the school is charging, now we have over 80 schools this year based on our 36th annual cost projection, 80 schools plus that are current cost, not 16 years from now for my 2-year-old, but this year $70,000 to attend that school. So surely, based on our combined income of $90,000, our household income is $140,000. Surely we'll qualify for financial aid. I don't want to qualify for financial aid. I want other strategies and techniques and so on, how to address this problem. And we think going from 2 dimensions to 7 dimensions is an approach. It's a guideline. It gives direction. And it is what these 4%ers, successful veteran parents, have said, this is what we did, and this is why we did it, and this is the result. So let's think about this process and come from the end, the result, and try to develop habits based on our understanding of the result and work backwards. If we work backwards, how did we get this result? It's based on behavior. It's based on human emotion. It's based, and we're at that stage, working backwards, to where we take another step backwards. It's what is our goal? If we understand what the goal is, and we work back beyond that, one of the first steps is value. What is our value point to reach the goal, to factor in and be aware of the behavioral influence on emotion to get the desired result? If we work backwards and we put a price tag on that result factor and say, if we have this behavioral part, put a price tag on that behavior and work up to, or backwards to the goal, put a price tag on that and say, what's the values? And once I make that level of commitment or understanding or awareness or what have you, I'm 4, 5, 10 steps to having a positive result. So when we look at the 7 dimensions, rather than just save early and save a lot, we talk about having a written plan. At some point in time, early, I would rather say write a plan early versus fund early. Because funding earlier without a plan isn't realistic. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Now, if I do these 7 dimensions, stages, if you will, and I put a price tag on that and say, just that simple step will save me $10,000 a year for each child, each year of college. One child, I save $40,000. Second child, I save another $40,000. We have 2 children. That's $80,000 that I saved simply by adopting that first step of, or dimension of a written plan. So as we walk through these steps and stages, I know that a part of my written plan is realistically paycheck to paycheck. It's going to be a while for us to adjust from from 2 incomes to 1 income to 1.5 incomes, and that adjustment period is known. It's there. It's a part of our plan, and from that adjustment, I start to fund, not $3,600 a month, but maybe $50 a month, $100 a month, maybe $100 per child a month. And I look at that and I say, okay, I go from that funding to a monitoring stage, and the monitoring stage has 2 or 3 different parts where I have the choice, called the nickel plan, of increasing my $100 a month per child to $105 a month per child, nickel plan. We haven't changed that in 23 years, nickel plan. Another option is to increase our funding by the cost of increase in college costs. It might be 3%, and for 26 years, we increased college cost projections 6%. Now it's 3% projection. In other words, we're going to do that each year and increase that. A third option is to increase it by the consumer price index. So if consumer price index is 2% or 2.5% or 1%, I at least know, wow, that's one of my options, okay? Another option is don't do anything, keep it the same, okay? So as we go through these options in the nickel plan, I'm kept up to date, and we used to recommend that you do that monitoring and reviewing once a year. It's not bad to do it twice a year, but in our plan, we have to create an anniversary date. Could be a birthday, could be an anniversary date, could be, Valentine's Day, I don't care. But at least I have my plan, whoop, whoop, whoop on the calendar. I've got this, we got to sit down for 15 minutes and take stock of where we are and what direction we're going in, okay? In addition to the monitoring stage or dimension, we have what we call a FAPR, a Financial Aid Probability Analysis Report, and we do that each year, and we send little Susie to college this fall, even though Susie is only 2 years old. Then Eric, who's 4.5 years old, we send Eric to school again this fall. So we have 2 children in college. Actually, we have one in college because we did this 3 years ago when Eric was just 1 year old. But every year we do a financial aid analysis report based on our current household income, based on the number of children, based on our savings, based on all of these things. And we do that on purpose, according to the plan, and say, I have the choice of not increasing our funding. I go through these steps, but at least I know, I'm aware that based on present income, household income, the probability of receiving financial aid. Now, if I do that for 12, 13, 14 years and know for 11, 12, 16 years, we probably won't get financial aid, or if we do, this is the amount that we would get today because we're sending our children to college today, 2 years and 4 years. I take away that easy sale, and the easy sale was, oh, you guys are going to get financial aid. Our neighbor next door, they have 3 children, and they make $400,000, and they got financial aid. Oh, surely we'll get financial aid. It's an easy sale to give me something that I am hoping for, okay? So as we go through these dimensions, these stages, here's the day, the first day. Little Eric is now, for real, going to college. We know the cost of college and so on and so on. So what we've done through this process, and we'll talk about these dimensions again and again and again, but when we look at all of these brainwave things, these functions, and we look at something far in the future, which has a lot of uncertainty. I don't even know if Eric is going to go to school. He may go to a military academy. He may start a business. He may do something else. The uncertainty of what will happen 12 years from now is diminished with a higher degree of certainty. So if we look at certainty, overcoming uncertainty, we get back to the emotion aspect of it, and emotion rules people, but emotion comes first and logic comes second. So how can I bring this logic factor up to emotion? It is a greater awareness of, if I go through these dimensions, the higher degree of a better result because of my behavior, because of the goal that we have, and the value that I have, that college education is important, but it isn't meant for everybody. So I incorporate that philosophy in my written plan. A lot to think about, but we have a powerful thing up here, and we have to distinguish between emotion and money, and how emotion rules people, and how can we improve and get to a better result. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.